Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Justin Freitas, making a video right now, which I normally do not do, but I just wanted to share with everybody out there just the amazing kind of journey I just went through with friend, comrade, life coach, Berwick Mahdi Davenport. I've done a lot of workshops, a lot of, programs, transformational leadership things throughout the years. And they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I truly believe that. And Mahdi and I have worked together for the last 3 months, along with a couple other folks. Mahdi and I have known each other for years now, doing work in the Undoing Racism movement, doing trainings, doing organizing around the country. And really, a group of us decided to do some work with Mahdi because he really has a unique way of getting to, this idea of us attaining our own power. One of the things, particularly that I wanted to speak to just to make in this video, with the folks in the circles that are in around the country, people doing a lot of social change work, a lot of organizers around the country. A lot of what we do or say that what we do is helping people get a sense of their own power. A good organizer helps people get a sense of their own power. And what Mahdi has been able to kind of reflect back to myself is, how much we need to begin to walk that walk in our own individual lives, that we need to be doing that organizing to change systems around the country, to be doing all this work around undoing racism and oppression around the country, but also that we got to begin to model what that looks like for people if we're asking people to get a sense of their own power. How do we kind of live with integrity in our own lives? So, I came to Mahdi having, as I mentioned before, doing, different programs, different things. And I think really what came up for me and what I want to share in this video is, the new mantra I'm using, in my life. I've kind of experienced it, but it really came to me as I was working with Mahdi, is how do I, when I'm in situations, model vulnerability first? Never expect it to come from someone else first, whether I'm doing work with my family, friends, people I'm organizing with. How do I model vulnerability first? And then every single time I've been able to do that, I've seen it be modeled back afterwards. There's an opening for other people to do the same, so I think, or at least I'm feeling in terms of, if we want a different world, how do we start to practice that in our own individual lives? How do we model that for people that we're asking to organize, to undo some massive things, to get a sense of their own power? How do we find that balance between the micro and the macro? So, just a couple things that Mahdi and I kind of worked on. A lot of times, I think we've been able to take these things in our lives that we learn about, be it racism, be it, trauma, be it all these sorts of different things, but we only understand them conceptually. And I know that specifically that is, something that shows up for us as white people around the country, that, we stay very up here, So what Mahdi was able to do that I wasn't able to, maybe access or hear in the same way, was he was able to put me through kind of a circular learning process. How do I, words have taken on so much meaning. How, when I'm talking about how I feel or an emotion that's coming up for me, how do I even understand it myself? How do I, what do I really mean when I'm saying a word, right? And it seems kind of counterintuitive and it takes a little longer, but that's what life is sometimes. I came to Mahdi going through this process of, I have all these skills and tools and really feeling a little shame of like, that how come things aren't exactly where I want to be in this area of my life or in that area of my life. And I have a fantastic partner who often would share, well, you're learning this, you're going through the same thing again. What didn't you learn the last time? And that's really what Mahdi is able to do, is take you through that circular piece of, okay, you said that word, Justin. What do you really mean by that? And actually keep digging it out. And then before I knew it, in our time together, in our sessions together, in our weekly calls, I'd say, well, I didn't really know what I meant when I was saying those things, right? And it became clear when I struck a chord, or I was able to dig deeper and he would push, and I was able to say, oh man, that's where it is right there, because there would be an emotional response. There would be something that came up for me. What does it mean, Justin, when you say you want to be fulfilled, for instance? That is just a concept to you right now. How do you actually, unpack what that means, and and with the inner work that I began to do with Mahdi, I realized that for me, it just was a need to exhale, a need to treat myself with love and compassion, with tenderness. Some of the things that we talk about in justice movements, but aren't often there because we're fighting some things and we're always in fight mode. So having Mahdi able to put me through that circular process was just amazing. He helped me understand the difference between, just a couple things shifting from, trying to motivate myself and being motivating versus being inspiring, waking up and jumping out of bed. Because when you're motivating yourself, it still feels like work, right? It's still like you're pushing yourself. And in order to understand, that difference, they both sound good, but inspiring has me have to get in touch with what my own desires are. Has me have to get in touch with, my own, lack of confidence in myself, of trying to do things and please others and putting myself second. So that's really a big piece of what I got out of my work with Mahdi. Particularly, Mahdi, as I mentioned, him and I worked together for a lot of years before we did this coaching work together. And often he would hear me in the workshops that we do around undoing racism in the country talk about people who come into justice-related work, social change work, as being wounded healers, that I felt like that I was a wounded healer. And one thing that I was able to get clear on that's been extremely helpful is that, healers are going to attract sick people, right? Because if we're calling ourselves healer, Mahdi said, listen, if you're going to keep calling yourself a healer, you got to expect the sickness to find its way towards you. Now, if I'm not clear about who I am, or if I'm not being my authentic self, what will happen is when those sick people find their way, or even if it's just a temporary sickness, something going on with them, when that stuff starts to play out, it's going to tap into my own ego if I'm not clear. It's going to have me doubt and want to collude with some of that sickness and doubt myself. And when, self-doubt comes in, fear comes in, anger comes in to try and cover up that fear, so really, when I've been able to get in touch with those things, to understand that you're calling yourself this thing, well, the universe is going to give you an opportunity to practice that instead of, having these situations come up and just being frustrated by them, saying, wow, well, you just named that. You just declared that. You're clear about your desire. Now, what is your focus, Justin, on being as healthy as you can be, as balanced as you can be, so that you should expect those things to come your way, that it's just practice, because that's what you came here to do that type of work. And so when I'm talking about this work with Mahdi, it's never one size fits all. Justin's game plan is not anyone else's, way of doing things, but what I've seen, or have I've experienced, and that I've seen through friends, through family, through a lot of things, is that when we're doing things to just, in comparing mode and pleasing mode, improving mode, to other people, that's all the work of the ego, and it's all distractions that get in the way of us truly doing what we're meant to do here, right? So now, for me, what comes up when I'm trying to take on anything is, where's the freedom in it? How do I get in touch with that desire that allows me to exhale, that I see the joy in what I'm doing when I'm doing it. And it feels so much better, because before I was really operating on a should principle. Why should I be doing this if I'm doing this type of work? Why should I be doing this if I'm trying to stay healthy, or whatever it means to be? And should is the dirtiest word in the English language, right? There's so much shame that comes out of it, right? Instead of actually saying, okay, you have a goal. Why do you have that goal? Let's get clear about that for yourself. Let's find the desire in it. Let's find the freedom in what you're doing. And then it's not just a discipline and a motivating to get yourself to do those things every day. You're just inspired to do them, right? Which is why I'm inspired to kind of share this video with other folks and just to say, whatever stage you're at in your life, whether you're involved in the type of work that we are or not, how is it that we use, or at least I can share my own mantra now, is how do I model vulnerability first? How do I ask for help if I need help? So I'm hoping other folks kind of can get that sense and feeling that piece through kind of this kind of talk that I just wanted to share right now, because we need to start to be who we're going to be if we want this world, to change in all the ways that we want it to change, and that the key piece about what Mahdi's work is all focused around is how do we live into the powerful beings that we were supposed to be in the first place. And that's one thing that I've seen missing, whether I'm seeing it in, these transformative leadership healing circles is a lack of, the analysis around, justice and different things. But also in those justice circles, I've seen the lack of the healing, the lack of the ability to kind of look at our own messiness in our lives and not make it wrong, just how do we learn from it? And that's one thing that Mahdi was able to really, crystallize for me, not worrying about the how things are going to get fixed, not worrying about, how I'm going to fix the, do this element of my family life, how I'm going to do this element in my partnership with my, with my partner, how I'm going to do this in my work, in my organizing work. The how is not an issue when you trust the process of life and when you're just expressing yourself authentically, so I really, really just have to thank Mahdi, for the building that we've done together for the last 3 months, and just how, I'm able to, now it's still hard work, but get to a place of self-expression quicker. I've just been in a flow the last few weeks. My family is in rhythm in a way that it hasn't been ever before. And then I had a little kind of breakdown area, but it seems so much easier to get back up and get moving quicker, because I didn't spend so much time and energy with those distractions on making it wrong or the should or what I could have been doing. It still is going to show up, but now I can recognize that stuff for what it is. And I hope that there's something in here that is helpful for you all. Message me, reach out to Berwick Mahdi Davenport. Follow him on Facebook. He is just so alive at all points throughout the day, 24/7, and a master in this work, that even just following him on Facebook, all his messages are going to uplift you throughout the day. And I hope you ask me more questions. If any of this is vague, just ask me and I'll give you more examples of how this stuff has shown up as I've done this work with Mahdi, because every time I've been able to dig deep and really do the inner work that's needed so that I can show up the way I need to in the circles that I am, the universe right away says, okay, Justin, you said you want to play yourself that big, let's prove it now. And it's been, amazing that every single time that, I've declared something and gotten clearer about myself, the universe puts it to a test right away. And how I've been able to notice, okay, well, I passed that test with flying colors, or I need to take that test again and study a little bit more about what's coming up for me that would have me pause instead of just powering through the way I need to. But I feel, more self-expressed, more in rhythm with myself and my own feelings than I have in longer than I can remember, if not ever. And I know a lot of that. I just want to say love you to Mahdi and all the other folks who have kind of been part of my circle as I've been doing this kind of inner work. So thank you all, and hope you reach out and do some life coaching work with Mahdi, and can't highly recommend it enough. Take care and have a great day.